Welcome back. I'm glad you're here because we're still talking about dating because it's a process, right? But it's fun. Hopefully y'all watched some other videos in this series, but I'm Elizabeth. I dated for a long time before I finally got married at 47. So I was getting married later in life, had been dating for a long time, tried all the things. And mostly when I got into my 40s, like dating after 40s, when you kind of start to hit your sweet spot and you like catch on to some stuff that you you maybe weren't doing in a way that was helpful to you. So that's what we're kind of unpacking and looking through is, what are some practical tools? What are some tips? And I've sort of so far talked about some really high level emotional things and then some like really nitty gritty practical things like scripts and how to talk to people and how to say yes and no and so on. So today we're going to dive back into kind of that emotional higher level thing about mindset and this having an open mindset when you're dating. So previous videos about opening your heart, which is a really, really foundational part to kind of let down your guard and those shields that you might have built up over time from heartbreak and things that didn't work out the way you hoped in all areas of life. That can really like layer on kind of the barriers. So once you get your heart open, sometimes it can take a minute for your mind to follow, to catch up, right? So even though your heart's gonna be like, I'm ready for love, I'm ready, bring it on, I'm ready for love, your brain may still also have some blocks and shields. So you really have to kind of go into dating with this open mindset. It helped me a lot when I like actively was like, I'm going to be open to meeting new people. And I'm going to get rid of like a lot of these rules and these lists that I had and all of these things and just be like really open and down to like the things that I was really looking for, the really important stuff. So open mindset is key. And I think that one of the challenges is we often go into dating looking for like the one, like we want to get married. We have this goal. Not a bad thing to be like, I want to get married. I want to be in a long-term relationship. Like that's a great goal because that's why you're dating, right? Like, duh, like that's what we're doing. But it puts a lot of pressure on you and on the people that you're dating, right? Like it's like you're going into these dates trying to ask them like, are you the one? Like I need to know immediately. And that's kind of stressful for everybody. So when I figured that out, when I said, you know what, I'd been in like this long-term relationship before I met John, my husband. And that was like, I went in there like, I want to be married. And the guy that I met was also like, I want to be married. And it was rough. Like we were critical of each other, but also not critical enough because we just really wanted to meet the goal. And fortunately, after like about 8 months, he was like, this isn't really working for me. And I was like, thank goodness, because there were so many things that weren't working, but I was so focused on my goal of getting married that I sort of overlooked some stuff that I think if I was, if we were together long term, I don't think we would have enjoyed that. He was a cool dude, but there were just some things that weren't working. So point is like, once I kind of took away that pressure of finding the one, like when I got back out there, I was like, all right, that was a lot. I was intense. I'm going to just dial it back and I'm going to have fun. I'm just going to go into a meeting. I just want to go meet some people. That's it. I'm just going to date for fun. Date for fun is like a fun activity, meet some people, go out, see what I like almost like rethink it because I had been on this date with dating someone that didn't work out. And I was like, well, maybe I should rethink what I want, and just kind of take it easy. So it kind of helps remove a lot of that critiquing that you're doing right off the bat. You're not on that first date, like wondering if they're the one. You can kind of relax and just be like, I'm here to have a good time. I'm here to listen. I'm here to get to meet this person, get to know them better. No pressure, just having fun. So that's the way I approach it. And also when you get really critical about finding the one, you can really rule out a lot of possibilities that might be good for you. So, if you have your list and it's really strict, like I need someone who's rich and handsome and has blue eyes and wants 3 kids or whatever, you have this really strict list. It really rules out a lot of possibilities and you narrow your options, you narrow your field. That's just fact. And so it's better to go into like a broader field and then you can kind of meet all the options and just see what you really want and, start to narrow. There might be some things that were on your list that were really important, but some that you're like, oh, actually that wasn't as important. So an example I want to give like from my life was when I went back to the dating pool, I had been in this relationship and I was like, okay, I'm going to have fun. And that was it. I literally was like, I'm just going to have fun. And so I started dating and I met John and he wasn't like everything on my list. Like he was 7 years younger. That wasn't on my list. I didn't expect, I thought I'd meet someone older, honestly. So I was like, 7 years younger, that's interesting. I hadn't considered that, but he was a very cool guy. And I was like, and he was like, do you have a problem with that? And I was like, no, let's give it a whirl. Why not? You have a problem with it? And he's like, no. So we went for it. He lived an hour and a half away. And when you think about dating, like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to meet the one, they live so far away. But I was like, I'm just having fun. I don't know, just trying to get to know this person. So like, let's not sweat it. Like, let's not worry about the getting married right now. Like, let's go date. So, that was like not what was on my list, but I was like, yeah, let's do this. And, and this other funny part was like the first picture I saw of him, he had like this tiara on. He was at some party or whatever. And, I don't think I would have had on my list, like, guy who thinks it's fun to wear a tiara. And, but he was, and he made me laugh when I saw that. And, it turns out he had lots of funny hat pictures. So, I could tell like he had a good sense of humor. And so like these deeper values I could tell were like really important, and more important than what age he was or where he lived and what he did for a living and any of that stuff that might have been on my list previously. So once I got rid of like focusing on he's got to be the one and we're got to get married immediately, it really opened up my opportunity to go out with a lot of different types of people and keep my mindset open, right? So your heart's open and then your mind's open and you're like, yeah, okay, just letting people flow in. And then I can identify from my practical tips of like, and some of my heart opening, like where the right one, some need to go and some need to stay. So it was just really, it changed everything for me, these multi-facets of approaching dating. And so that's really that simple. And one of the other things I want to remind you is that, we talk about like, it's totally cool to want to get married and be in a long-term relationship. Again, that is why we're dating, right? For the most part, I think that's why we all do it. So it's a really good goal. You just don't have to bring that goal so closely with you when you go on these first dates. And so I would say on the first date for sure, don't interrogate people. They're just trying to also relax. I mean, think about it. The guy might also be thinking, oh, I got to determine if she's the one. So like he might be doing the same thing to you. So if you can help him relax and you can be relaxed, then everyone can kind of chill and be more vulnerable, more open. It's easier to get to know the real person that way. So, I would say, talking about those deep things until like the second or third date, like maybe keep the first date light. It's like I call it like, it's like the pregame, right? You're just like, we're just tailgating. We're at the pre-party. We're just trying to get to know each other and it's not a big deal. And, honestly, I laughed about this because when I met John, I was joking because I kept saying like, I'm just dating for fun. It's just for fun. And it turns out that I got my wish because he is super fun. So I actually put that out there that I was dating for fun and I got a guy who was so fun. I mean, every day he makes me laugh. And like, that is just the best thing. So yeah, maybe change your intention too. The marriage thing can be kind of like over here in the back burner, but maybe you have an intention of like, I'm going to go out with someone who's just really peaceful or really kind or really fun or really thoughtful, and like find a really nice, like, I don't know, it just makes you feel warm inside, like a nice, warm, really great quality that you're looking for in a person. Like I talked about in the starting conversations, when you're picking a quality of someone, like, doesn't matter if they have a motorcycle. I want someone adventurous. So you're kind of getting the broader quality about what is it about them, what is feeling like them be like, and look for that instead of the list or that they're going to be the marriage proposal. So yeah, I think that's like the secret, is letting go of this mindset. And I have one more story for you that might illustrate it. It's an interesting one because a friend recently was telling me she met this guy and she just came on strong. As far as like telling me that, she was excited. She's like, I met this guy, he's amazing. We talked for 2 hours over coffee and it was just so great. And she's so excited. And then she found out a little bit more about his politics, and politics are tricky. Like that is totally fair. But I was like, so she immediately was like, I'm not going to see him again. And I was like, well, I mean, if that's a big deal breaker for you, then absolutely, don't see him. But if you liked like 90% of the stuff about him, and there was like this, just the 10% was the politics, then maybe go on a second date and find out more about his politics, like find out about his values. Because I was thinking about it and I was like, politics change every 4 years. This person's going to be with you forever. So like something externally might change, but he will be here or she will be here. And what's really important is what they value. So it's really worth digging in on the second and third date, is to find out, could they be the one? Because on the first date are just these like labels that we put on people, really don't tell you a lot about them. It's just kind of surface stuff. And that's fine for, again, first date. But that's why you want to go on the dates and keep dating so you can find out more. It'll tell me about your politics. Like, why do you think this way? What's it about? And you might find out that they actually value the same things you do. It just looks a little differently for them. So that was something that struck me recently, that I was like, yeah, I think my friend was looking for the one, and it could have kept her from going on a second or third date with a really cool person that she could have gotten to know better. And then, third day she found out he wasn't the one. The politics was a problem. That's fine. You could, you got your script. You know how to say, I'm not interested in moving further, and that's it. So those are the tips for today with opening your mindset. Hopefully that's helpful. I hope all of this is helpful, because I was just so relieved when I learned it at the tail end of my dating experience. I was like, oh, finally I catch on. And I'm hoping that it can help you sort of speed up the process. And, at any phase of life you're in, and this is great for your, I was dating in my 30s real hard. So this is great for your 30s, your 40s. Beyond that, we find ourselves single for many, many reasons in different phases of life. So you might want to tweak and adjust based on the phase that you're in. But see how this opening your heart and then opening your mind works for you to bring in new people that maybe wouldn't have gone on first dates, second dates with, and see what happens. So thanks for joining me today, and hopefully you'll subscribe and tell your single friends about this so we can all be in this little series together. I've got more coming. So they're focusing on opening the heart, some of the practical stuff, and then we're going to kind of dig in even more deeper as we go along. So I've got about 4 more coming. So we're going to really get in there, and I'm excited about it. So thank you for joining me, and have a super fun time dating. If you have any new intentions for dating, like you're like, okay, I'm going to forget about the one for now, even though it'll be back here on the shelf. And you've got a new intention, like having fun, finding someone peaceful, someone thoughtful, someone warm, who gives good hugs, whatever. Let me know. I'd love to hear about it, because I think that's the really fun part. All right, bye.